Good morning. I can't believe it's already Thursday. This short week is just flying by. Today, we are going to take a break from the informational text standards and we're going to get a little more into literature. We're still going to stick with reading this, but today's focus is on myths. Now, remember we did genre study. It's been a long time, but we talked about how there were two types of fantasy, modern and traditional. Modern fantasy has a true author, and it's has like characters that can be human, but magic is involved. And remember, we said traditional fantasy was the one where there's no true author, and it's been passed down through oral tradition. So like Cinderella, there's tons of different versions of Cinderella, and we don't quite know who actually wrote that story because it was passed down verbally, oral tradition. Today we're going to talk about myths. Myths, so it's tricky. You have the big umbrella, right, of fiction, nonfiction. Then under fiction, you have things like mystery, historical fiction, realistic fiction, traditional fantasy, and modern fantasy. And then under traditional fantasy, there's myths, legends, folk tales, and fairy tales. Okay, so it's lots and lots of different categories. So today's category is myths. Okay, so myths explain a natural phenomenon. So an example, why there are stars, why there are earthquakes, why there are storms. They were made up in the past before we had the technology or the knowledge to understand why these things happened. So people made up things like, well, this is why it rains, or this is why earthquakes happen. And that's what you're going to read about today, the myths about why earthquakes happen. They explain origins of earth, fire, or evil, so like how they began. And then sometimes they are about gods and goddesses, heroes and monsters, and their interactions with humans. Okay, so this was my myths anchor chart. I drew like a little visual, right? This is like a storm cloud with lightning, so you can remember, oh, it has to do with nature. Myths often describe why things happen in nature. So today you're going to read about myths. You're going to answer questions about what you've read. Your big question is, how do volcano myths help explain volcanic activity? Okay, so looking at what's really happening and how are the myths describing it. So let's see, we've gone over myths. I want to go over these vocabulary words with you that you will find in here. The first is offering. It is something that is presented as an act of worship. Strong-willed, determined to do what you want, even if other people tell you not to. Bitter, resentful and angry because of unfair treatment. That's the first definition. The second definition is very cold. Number 4 is outsmart, to trick or defeat someone by being clever. Number 5 is revenge, the act of getting even for a wrongdoing. 6, caldera, a crater caused by the collapse of the top of a volcano. Lofty means high up, and we're actually going to talk about lofty once I'm done reading these. Eternal means lasting forever with no beginning, and no end. And then an elder, a person who is older, respected, and often in a position of authority. And I said I wanted to talk to you about the word lofty. Lofty is a multiple meaning word. So that means there's 3 definitions that lofty can have at any given time. So the first one is high up. The second one is deserving to be admired. And the third is thinking that you are better than others. I kind of think 2 and 3 are a little bit connected. The only difference is number 2, deserving to be admired. You've actually earned it. Number 3, you think you've earned it, but you haven't really earned it. Your exit ticket, you are going to read the passage, then you are going to answer the questions about what you've read, and then the second part of the exit ticket is there are sentences with the word lofty in them, and you are going to pick which definition they are using, okay? And those are multiple choice, and the definitions are right there. So like if I'm reading you an example right now, just to be real quick with you so you understand. The lofty mountains towered above our cabin. Does lofty mean high up, deserving to be admired, or thinking you are better than others? That one's pretty easy, so I will give you that one. It's high up. Okay, but the definitions are right there for you to see. Please submit this by 5 p.m. tonight so we can go over it tomorrow during our Zoom class, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you have questions, call, text, or email me. That's all I have for you. Tomorrow is Friday. Have a great day.